Some BTC mining companies are claiming to be going green to counter their carbon footprint and turn the narrative back in their favor. My colleague Matt Goldman traveled to Nebraska to meet the founders of Chinese-American company Digital, to its remote energy site where they house their effort in making their ultra-lucrative business more sustainable.
I'm watching crypto, and when I say I'm watching crypto, Francine, what I really mean is I'm going to have one eye on a tick-by-tick chart of Bitcoin and the other eye on Elon Musk's Twitter feed.
Despite environmental concerns and recent nosedives in the price of Bitcoin, cryptocurrency mining is ramping up at a breakneck pace, causing the network to inevitably grow. In April of 2021, prominent members of the community created the Crypto Climate Accord. Inspired by the Paris Climate Accord, their stated goal is to decarbonize Bitcoin mining and other cryptocurrency energy consumption. If followed through on these commitments, the future of crypto could become more localized, relying on remote energy sources like hydrothermal and solar to run their power-hungry machines. As signatories of the Crypto Climate Accord, New York City-based Digital is doing their part to practice what they preach while keeping their eye on the bottom line.
We're Digital. We're a Bitcoin mining company, and we are sitting in our new office just off Union Square in New York City. Using sustainable energy sources is clearly the right thing to do from the perspective of the planet, and I'm an environmentalist at heart, so that's something I personally care about. In terms of our bottom line, it's important because it's something our investors care about. Increasingly, institutional investors are very focused on compliance with ESG goals. And we're a publicly traded company, so that's something we have to be very thoughtful about. It is an energy-intensive industry, and so it's incumbent on us as a company and others in the community to find ways to source that energy that aren't going to add to the carbon footprint.
So I actually graduated with my master's degree in civil and environmental engineering from Carnegie Mellon University. It's actually my first time applying what I've learned from school in real life. Yeah, we have about 46,000 miners across the globe, and we estimate about 55% on renewable or low carbon energy, and we're setting targets to increase that percentage.
But to understand how, we're going to have to leave their Manhattan WeWork office and head to a more remote corner of the country. These co-locations, as they're called, service Bitcoin mining and other cryptocurrency computing needs.
Hey, Eric, welcome to Nebraska. Good to see you both.
Yeah. So right now we're in Kearney, Nebraska, and we're standing on a Bitcoin mining facility. It's running about 60 megawatts of power, and there's about 20,000 individual Bitcoin mining computers in this facility. Can't hear a damn thing in here. We have about 5,000 of these, so about a quarter of these are ours. So those solar panels in the next field, that's part of the generation capacity that's ultimately powering this facility, right?
Yeah, correct. So that is actually the largest solar field in all of Nebraska. So 65% of the electricity that comes into our facility here at Compute North is carbon-free.
Just in the last, several weeks to several months, though, the demand has certainly outstripped our ability to supply and to scale at the level that they need. We have had to turn clients away. Even though the scale and the size of the Bitcoin network is getting massive, I think the easiest thing to attack is the energy and the amount and usage. Candidly, I could say the same thing for Facebook. I'm not a fan of the social media network. I'm not a fan of my neighbor's cat photos. I mean, they also use a tremendous amount of energy. I think Bitcoin's very different in that it is energy intensive. It also can go to places where that energy would otherwise not be put to use. So there's more energy not being used at all and simply goes to waste than Bitcoin even uses by a factor of 20.
This is true primarily because of a concept called stranded energy, which is essentially power that's generated, but due to grid limitations, can't be used and ultimately goes to waste. Crypto miners are now flocking to co-location sites to make use of this stranded energy, And stranded energy by its nature is in remote places.
Because Bitcoin mining, it is an economic animal, and it's going to seek the lowest economic cost power it can find. That is often stranded renewables that don't have any other users available, because nature puts renewable energy wherever nature chose to put it. Computers and Bitcoin miners don't care where they live. You can literally put them anywhere in the world. West Texas has abundant wind resources. Northern Quebec, there are miners operating up there on the hydropower that's abundant there. Solar farms sitting in the middle of a desert. And so we've brought the computational demand to where the renewable power is located.
By Bit Digital's own estimate, however, 45% of the power their machines draw remains from non-renewables, like oil and gas. To mitigate the environmental effects of these less carbon-neutral energy sources, they've come up with some innovative solutions.
I have a partnership in Alberta, Canada, with a company that develops mining sites that sit on top of dormant natural gas wells. And they are venting natural gas into the atmosphere. Instead of venting that natural gas, which is mostly methane, into the atmosphere, it's being captured and repurposed to create energy to run Bitcoin mining. And by doing that and converting it into fuel, it actually reduces the emissions, the greenhouse gas emissions of that gas.
Still, eco-conscious miners do need to go even further in order to curb their power consumption. However, mining machines don't need to run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, like other more critical networks. And miners like Bit Digital have agreements with their power providers to curtail usage during peak demand.
When there is grid needs, when there's a better use for the energy, when there's a grid emergency, we can and we do shut down. And that's a very key part of our whole mantra of being not just a good citizen locally, but being a good citizen to the energy and to the power networks.
But without worldwide enforceable regulations, efforts like this could very well be in vain. If mining remains this lucrative, there will always be people that put profit over planet, which gives the more conscientious miners all the more reason to get machines out of the regions of the world with less regulations and into areas with better transparency and accountability.
About a mile away, there's a warehouse that's full of a bunch that we recently flew over from China. And frankly, it's not great to see them sitting here in boxes because they could be plugged in and making money. And I want to get them out and making some money as quickly as possible.
All the miners, as you see today, are actually manufactured and designed by Chinese companies. And going from there, it's a process of distributing all those miners across the globe to make it more, decentralized. And that's exactly what we're doing here. We're, as a miner, to support the Bitcoin network.
Depending on the model and the exact moment you buy them, are going to cost $10,000 to $15,000 a piece. And it's kind of like a souped-up PS5. You plug it in, and it starts making this commodity we know as Bitcoin. Bitcoin has had a bit of a democratizing effect. People can actually create pretty attractive returns for themselves without having a whole lot of money to put to work. That was enabled by Bitcoin, and now it's spread to a bigger ecosystem.
To Bitcoin devotees, that ecosystem, as energy intensive as it may be, has the potential to be less harmful to the environment than other more traditional forms of stored value.
What's really striking about this moment is, for the first time really in human history, we've got a truly global asset class that is in many ways like gold. It's a store of value with a fixed supply, and you can create it with the sun. Look, we're talking a lot today about Bitcoin as an alternative to gold and why that creates efficiencies and improves on the environmental cost of gold mining. Look, I'd rather see a bunch of robots minting Bitcoins using energy from the sun versus human beings using diesel fuel and fossil fuels to strip open mountaintops to get gold.
This is Decrypted. For more content like this, follow us on your favorite platforms.
Thanks for watching Bloomberg Quicktake Now. Subscribe to our channel to see the biggest stories the moment they happen from around the world. And tune in to our 24/7 live stream for global news coverage, interviews, deep dive shows, and documentaries on the stories you care about most.